Hey there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Wolters. We're in Spain, in Madrid, Spain, actually, in front of the Palacio Real. And today what we have for you is Spain versus America for tourists. Basically, some of the differences between Spain and the US, so tourists going each way know some of those differences so they can have a better time abroad. So let's get started. Now, the first thing we want to focus on is language. Well, here in Madrid, hablamos español. Just like in the US, we say we speak English. Yes, you will need to know some Spanish when you do come to Spain, because the older people, like 30 plus, a lot of them don't speak any English, okay? The younger people, they do learn it at school, but it's not as stressed. It's kind of like in the US. In the US, we speak English. Yes, we learn Spanish and German and stuff in high school and stuff, but we don't speak it that well. So if you're coming to Spain, you need to learn some Spanish before you come, even if it's just to make more friends or be friendlier with your service people, okay? It can make a difference. Now, not speaking Spanish won't mean you'll get ruined and all these things. In the tourist industry, people do speak English here, so you'll be okay with that. Well, what's great about the Spanish people is they're very friendly and they will try to communicate with you even if you don't speak Spanish. Now in the US, you have to speak English. Some people will speak some Spanish and other languages, but it's very limited. So again, really helpful to know a little bit of English before you go there. The second thing we want to look at is money. What money they use here in Spain? No, they don't have the peseta anymore. Now they use the euro, okay? And just like you do in Germany and Austria and Portugal and things like that. So that's great. You can use the same money from the rest of your vacation. And the euro comes in multiple notes. There's a 500 euro note, a 200 euro note, a 100 euro note, a 50 euro note, a 20 euro note, a 10 euro note, a 5 euro note, and then they have coins. And here, the coins are actually worth something. A 2 euro coin. And in the middle of 2014, a 2 euro coin was worth, $2.60. So it's actually worth something when you have those coins. So don't just throw your coins out and give it away. Realize they're actually worth something. Now in the US, you have bills 100, a 50, 20, 10, 5 and a 1, and sometimes you see a $2 bill. But then you get all these coins. In the US, the coins are pretty much worthless. You don't really use them, so people throw them out. So that's the big differences, is the coins that you do use. Also in the US, people don't like 50s and 100s. Here in Spain, a lot of places you go, the prices are low, so they don't like the 50s or 100s either, but they'll still take them. Whereas in the US, they'll literally have signs saying, nope, we do not accept $100 bills. So try to get smaller denominations when you are getting from the ATM or the bank when you exchange money. And let's go into the next thing, ATMs. How do you get your money out in exchanges? In the US or abroad, or here in Spain, ATMs or cajeros automáticos, multibanco or whatever, the ATM machines, the cash points, they're everywhere. You use your debit card to get the best rate. Here in Spain, they'll let you pick. Do you want to get it in euros, or do you want to see how many dollars are coming out? You can have that choice. In the US, it's not so simple. Like they don't give you that option, they just take it out in dollars. But ATMs are everywhere, and they do charge fees. In the US, it usually says like a couple dollars. Here in Spain, I've seen a lot of them that says, oh, we take a percentage or something like that. So just know that you will be charged a fee. But if you're looking to exchange money, you're going to get a better rate than if you go to the exchange houses. And if you're looking to exchange actual cash, the private exchange houses give you a worse rate. Banks give you a better rate. But it's hard to find a lot of banks that exchange dollars, so just be prepared for that, okay? Now, going into money, let's say about tipping. That's one of the things people always wonder when we go abroad. Do I tip? Do I not tip? Well, in Spain, the Spanish in general, if it's like a lower end restaurant kind of stuff, they don't usually tip, okay? If it's like a middle class restaurant above, they will tip a little bit, but not very much, okay? Now, that's not to say they won't appreciate your tip, and you might see a sign that'll say, oh, please tip, la la la. But just know it's not as required in Spain to tip like it is in the US. In the US, the servers, they need to make their money, so they get a 15 to 20% tip, and it goes to the waiter. In Spain, if you leave a tip, sometimes it doesn't even go to the waiter. So just know that that might be an issue out there. Also, sometimes they charge a service fee or something like that. So look at your bill, and it says services included. You're okay, so don't worry about it. But in general, Spain, you don't really tip. US, 15 to 20%. Now let's look at costs. Okay, now, costs, I would say Spain in general is much more affordable than the US. I would put it about 15%, 20% cheaper traveling here in Spain than the US. But of course it depends like what your lifestyle is. Do you go to high-end hotels or cheap hotels? These kind of things, okay? So there are a lot of deals to be had here in Spain. The US, there are deals, but it's not as affordable as a Spanish trip, okay? Because your wallet will like a trip to Spain, don't worry. Now, what about the plugs that you're going to use? Maybe you're going to bring your laptop or your tablet or your phone or your camera to Europe. Well, here in Spain, they use the two circle plugs, okay, like you have in Germany and Austria, okay? In the US, they have two flat plugs like this. Now, your cameras and your phones and your tablets already have a converter in them, so all you need is an adapter that will switch your two prongs like this into two prongs like that, okay? They're easy to get. They sell them at electronics stores here, or Corte Inglés, you can get them, or in the airport when you're coming in. It's no big deal, and that's all you really need in terms of electricity switching kind of things, at least with the products you're going to bring. Your hair dryer and stuff, don't bring that, it's just going to blow up, okay? Now, what about water and food and stuff like that? Here in Spain, they don't have lunch until later in the afternoon, 1 or 2, something like that. So if you're coming from the US and you're used to eating lunch at 11, realize that even McDonald's doesn't open until 12 in some cities in Spain, okay? Eat your good breakfast in the morning, all right, when you're at your hotel, because you're going to have to make it until 1 or 2 to have lunch in the afternoon. Also, the Spanish eat dinner very late as well compared to the US. So your 5 o'clock supper, people will be like, what are you doing eating already, okay? So they do eat later. So if you're meeting your Spanish friends, realize they want to have dinner a little bit later out there. So kind of adjust your schedule so you make sure you get the restaurants when they're at their peak service and doing their best job on the cooking and stuff like that. And that kind of gets us into the service. How is service in Spain versus the US? Now I will say both Spain and the US have very friendly service. So that's one of the things I enjoy about coming here. I would say that the service in Spain is much more of a playful service, whereas US is more, I'm being friendly because I need the tips kind of thing. So I enjoy the Spanish service a little bit better, but just know that the service should be pretty good. Obviously if you go to tourist trap areas, you know, like La Rambla in Barcelona, or if you're by the Plaza Mayor here in Madrid, you know, that's where a lot of tourists are, or in Mallorca, or those places. Yes, the service won't be as good, but if you get outside where the normal Spanish people go and normal Spanish waiters and stuff, they are really good and they're very helpful. Even if they don't speak English so well, they will still try to help you, okay? Now, what about drinking? What should I drink or eat when I'm there? You're going to be doing tapas here in Spain, and tapas basically, if you go get a drink or like a beer or a sangria or something like that at a bar, at a small little cafe, they'll bring out little plates of food for you. Sometimes it's free, sometimes you pay for it, but it's a really great way to eat when you're here because you get to try so many different things. Now there's two different kinds. There's tapas and raciones. Okay, tapas is a small plate, which could be like 2 or 3 euros. If it's not free, they don't give it to you. Or then they have raciones, which are like 8 euros a plate, which is a big portion, okay? So make sure you're careful, because that's one of the ways that sometimes tourists get a little, you know, in trouble there, is they think they order the tapas version for 3 euros and they get the 8 euro racion version, and there's some issues there, okay? Also, what you should know, the paella is very good here. There's a lot of traditional Spanish food that's great. I do suggest not eating paella in very heavily touristed areas or parts of town, because a lot of them, what they do is they just microwave a paella thing and give it to you, and you're not going to get that real paella. So if you go to some small town or medium-sized town, or just move a little bit away from the tourist center, you can get fantastic Spanish food, okay? And the last thing I want to talk about are the toilets, okay? Now the toilets here, just like in the US, you still, you know, you sit down and do your business, or you stand up and do your business, no problem. The toilets are free at the cafes and restaurants. Just know that if you're not buying at the restaurant, sometimes they might say something in the tourist areas, but usually you're fine using the toilets. The only time you might pay is if you're going to, you know, train stations and stuff like that. You might need some coins, 50, 60 cents, things like that. I always like to keep extra change in my pocket just in case for things like that to help you out. Now, I hope that helped you. Oh, by the way, in Spain they have the bidets, and if you're not sure how to use them, don't, okay? So anyway, I hope that helps you get ready for a great trip to Spain. It's a fantastic place. We've got a top 10 cities to see in Spain, 5 things you love and hate about Spain, 5 things you love about here visiting Madrid, all on our website at woltersworld.com. We're also on Twitter and Facebook, and we appreciate all your likes and subscriptions. And if you have more advice for tourists from the US heading to Spain, or Spanish tourists heading to America, please leave in the comment section below so everybody can have a fantastic time, whether here in Spain or in the US. So adios from Madrid.